It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Randolph Mascon College head field hockey coach, Coach Jessica Weiss. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Brandon. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get into college coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. I actually didn't until someone else brought it to my attention. I've always loved sport, been involved for ever since I was a small child. And my college coach at the time, Amy Cohen, was just guiding me through some professional decisions. And I had taken a service trip to New Orleans right after Hurricane Katrina, and just really kind of felt like my passion was to serve people as opposed to go the business school route. Which is what I was kind of planning on. And, she brought it to my attention that she felt like it would be a really great fit for my passion and my personality. And, I didn't really have too many other things lined up at the time because I was going through like a first half of life crisis about what I wanted to do with my life. But she really, presented me the opportunity to be on her staff at Susquehanna to coach field hockey. And, it's rest is history from there.
What was it like going to college and playing both field hockey and lacrosse for Susquehanna?
So it was definitely challenging. That's probably the first word I would use. But I actually didn't plan on playing lacrosse. I didn't start playing lacrosse until I was actually in college. I didn't start until my sophomore year. So I always had dreamt of playing basketball and field hockey, but the basketball route didn't really work out. So we at the time had the same coaches for field hockey as we did lacrosse. They just kind of swapped roles. So the head coach in field hockey became the assistant in lacrosse. And, they were in need of a second goalie. They only had one at the time. And I, was a goalkeeper for field hockey. So my sophomore year, I decided to give it a whirl. And, ended up playing two the rest of my career, and definitely challenging. But honestly, I'm a person that really likes structure and likes to be busy and likes to stay active and likes a challenge. And when I was presented with the opportunity to do something I'd never done before, and also help out a lot of the people, that I cared about, I had a bunch of teammates that played both sports. It just seemed like a fun thing. So it definitely took a lot of time. Being in season basically the entire year is, pretty different. But I, got to take about a week off or so before I kind of started some training. But honestly, it was challenging, but it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot about myself through lacrosse, and I wouldn't be where I'm sitting today if I didn't play lacrosse, because that was my first full-time job opportunity was in lacrosse. So I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing if it weren't for that. But I had a really great time. I loved my teammates, loved playing two sports. It really kind of expanded my, social circle and the people that I got to know through it. So I loved every bit of it, although it was definitely challenging at times.
How was that like, obviously balancing playing a fall sport, but also playing a spring sport?
Yeah, sometimes there was definitely a bit of, I guess, what you could call FOMO. So I didn't really have as much time, in the off season. That's when you, especially in Division 3, when you really have to do so much on your own. Like, your coaches can't be there for the majority of the off season. You're doing things on your own. It's, captain and leader led as opposed to the coaches, overseeing everything. So I didn't have as much time to develop the skills that I was really lacking in the off season as much. Obviously, I had the summer before field hockey, and then, winter break before lacrosse, but it really wasn't too much time. So, I wish I did have a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of refine those skills. But yeah, I mean, I would definitely be missing out on some things. I'd be leaving field hockey practice and be walking past a lacrosse team practicing, and, in their fall ball or whatnot. And of course, you always, feel like you're missing out a little bit. But I do feel like it made me a much more well-rounded person by playing both. And it really taught me to think a little bit more critically about each sport, having a different perspective and, a different sport to kind of have on my brain all the time.
Coming out of college, what was that like getting your first coaching job?
So being able to stay at my alma mater it was incredibly special, but it also was really difficult. It's obviously a challenge to draw that boundary and separate yourself from the people that were just, your best friends and your teammates. So that was honestly probably one of the best things that could have happened to me. Amy Cohen, the one that gave me that opportunity, it was hard at the time because she wanted me to be aware of how to draw boundaries and what that meant and what that looked like. And at the time, I probably wasn't so happy about the direction that she was giving me and what she was telling me that I should and shouldn't be doing. Because, I was 21 years old and probably thought I knew everything, but she was really firm with me. And that really served me well for the first time that I, left home, from what I knew, my home of the last 5 years. And that really helped me draw those boundaries at my first institution because there was someone on the team that was older than I was. So that really allowed me at my first, full-time coaching job at Christopher Newport to be able to draw those boundaries and to establish myself as a professional and be seen as a coach and not their friend, which is, always the goal, that they know they can come to you, but at the same point, I'm not their friend, I'm their coach. So having that opportunity at my alma mater definitely helped me establish myself a little bit more as I transitioned, to schools outside of my own comfort zone.
What was that like, obviously getting started at your alma mater versus obviously going from your alma mater to a different school and getting your start?
Yeah, wow, great question. I mean, I think obviously the comfortability of knowing the system and how the head coach works at my alma mater was a huge benefit. So being there and having that opportunity and knowing how she worked and just being able to compliment her and our assistant at the time, and being familiar with all the head coaches in the hallway and things like that. So really making the jump into something that I wasn't sure if I would be any good at or if I was going to succeed at it. So having the opportunity to do that at Susquehanna right off the bat was definitely helpful. But I think there's also a huge benefit of going somewhere where you don't know anyone and you don't know how this person operates and you got to find a place to live and you got to figure all these things out. So transitioning to moving to Virginia and working at Christopher Newport, I mean, at the time, I don't even think I knew anybody that lived in the entire state of Virginia. Maybe one person who lived in Arlington, but besides that, the list was pretty limited. So yeah, having to go out there on my own and really just find a place to live, do my own thing, create my own schedule, find my own friends, which people don't tell you that as an adult, finding friends is one of the most difficult things you have to do. Being able to do that and learn a brand new system and learn a whole new, batch of coaches and a new conference and all that. It was, I think there's a huge benefit to having that challenge in front of you. And the comfortability of being at Susquehanna actually challenged me in the sense of, like I was talking about, the drawing the boundaries piece. I was comfortable. So being able to be uncomfortable in that first job, I think definitely helped set me up for being able to roll with things that were kind of outside my control in the future.
What was that feeling like of going to Christopher Newport and becoming the head coach for the first time in your career?
So at Christopher Newport, I was an assistant for lacrosse and then an assistant for field hockey as well. So I first started as an assistant for lacrosse and obviously I played both. So about after a year or so, it was, talked about that I was a goalie and they needed some potential goalie training. I think their current goalie coach relocated or was having a child. I forget what the scenario was. But they were looking for someone that was nearby that could, a few times a week, just kind of go out and offer some guidance. And yeah, I mean, having the opportunity to work at an institution that was succeeding in pretty much every sport and just really starting to offer full-time assistant positions, it was really special. There was a lot of us that came in around the same time. I shared my office with the, assistant men's soccer coach, Justin Chesum, who's now the head men's soccer coach there now and is doing a fantastic job. I mean, that was really great. I had the opportunity to just really learn from some different people and be in an environment where success is normal. And being, nationally ranked is the daily expectation. So being able to jump into that environment, it was a really great feeling. And, I was young and eager and wanted to do as much as possible. So I'm really grateful for the experience for sure. And, for Caroline Ravia for giving me that first opportunity. She was the head women's lacrosse coach and she gave me that opportunity, and I'm so thankful that she did. Again, wouldn't be sitting here in this chair if she didn't.
Of course, during your time there at Christopher Newport, what was that like going to the NCAA tournament appearances?
Oh gosh, yeah, there were a lot of opportunities to do that, and I know that that is not everyone's experience. And that is definitely something that I tried to never take for granted, because again, I know there's a lot of people that coach their entire career and don't have the opportunity to go to the tournament. So, we went to the tournament every single year for lacrosse. We were fortunate enough to win the USA South every year that I was on staff, and they had won, before I got there as well. That was, again, it's just an experience and an atmosphere that is completely different, and not everyone has the opportunity to do that. And then, with field hockey, we did the same and eventually had the chance to go to the Final Four, which was a feeling that I'll never forget. I'll never forget standing on the sideline and that first goal that we scored, and how the entire crowd, went wild. And that's just a feeling that, like I said, not everyone has the opportunity to experience. So I'm aware of the fact that my experience might be a little bit of an outlier, the number of times I've been to the tournament. So I'm definitely grateful for that. And it's honestly a feeling that you can't really describe. Everyone tells you like, oh, it's just another game, you just show up and do your thing. But it's really not. Sure, in terms of what you do and all of that, it is the same, but the feeling is completely different in a good way. It just, again, it's so special, and you feel so lucky to have the opportunity to be standing there with the top teams in the country and just competing for what everyone's trying to get to, which is to win your last game of the year.
What was that like helping them obviously go to 2 USA South championships?
Yeah, so they had a lot of success prior to my arrival. And it was a program that, was starting to establish itself as a regional powerhouse, and they'd done extremely well. And just being able to jump in and help with the goalkeepers first, and just really, with my experience as a goalie and understanding all that, just give them a little bit more attention. It was great. I was definitely a little overly passionate at the time. Got myself into a lot of officials asking me to calm down scenarios, but it was exciting. And like I said, when you're in that environment, it's completely different, and the emotions are a little bit higher because you're excited to be there, and it's just the accumulation of all of your hard work that's coming to a head. So it's it's really exciting. Again, not everyone has the opportunity to compete for championships, and just looking back, and when I reviewed some of the things that I've gotten to experience over the past 10 years, 15 years, I understand that I'm incredibly lucky. So it's a great feeling. And, I still have all the things from the first time we went, and I'll keep them in my desk. I travel with them no matter where I go and what job I have. It just as a reminder of how great it is, but how quickly it can be gone.
What was that feeling like when you got that call that you became the head coach for Randolph Mascon?
So it was really great. Honestly, when I came on campus, I just knew that Randolph Macon was a fit for me. I just felt like it was very similar to where I went to undergrad. I really liked the mission of the college to develop the mind and character of its students. It just really fits with who I am as a person and what my approach is as a coach. So, it was the winter time. So we were on a break from school, and it honestly was very swift. It was a pretty quick process. And luckily I lived not too far away. So I was able to come up twice to campus and, meet with our athletic director, meet with the president, and just have the opportunity to meet some of the players as well. And it was great. I mean, it didn't seem real at first. And then of course, once you hang up the phone, you're super excited. And then that nervousness sets in of like, oh my gosh, I have so many things that I want to do, and where do I start, and what do I do? But yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to be able to be with my family shortly after for the holiday season over winter break. So that was great to be able to experience that with them. They're in the Philadelphia area, and I was living in Norfolk, Virginia at the time. So it was great to be able to be around them.
Of course, in your first few years, what was that like, obviously getting used to obviously making decisions for the program and not obviously having somebody tell you the decision?
Yeah, that's the number one word. I think Sherry Cole from Oklahoma, she has this little video series that she chimes in on, and she says like, decide, like that's all you ever do. And I think when you're an assistant coach, you don't realize how many decisions come across the head coach's desk. And yeah, you've got nobody else to turn to. Like, you're the one that needs to decide. And sure, you can ask other people for their advice or their guidance or their thoughts, but at the end of the day, your name's attached to every choice that you make. And again, that's not something that I necessarily was prepared for. Again, when you're doing something for a decent amount of time, you probably think that you know exactly what you're doing. And I probably thought I did a little bit more than I actually did. And yeah, I mean, the decisions are super small, but then they're also really heavy. So there's some that come, from deciding what color you want your practice pennies to be, to, do I decide to take this 18-year-old child and watch her and invest in her and develop her until she becomes an adult? That's a huge decision. So yeah, I mean, that was definitely something that I was a little bit nervous for at first, but once you start doing it, you're not going to make everyone happy along the way, but decision making is part of what you do on a daily basis. And you just kind of have to be comfortable with the fact that it's not always going to be easy. And there'll be some that will keep you up at night, and some that haunt you, and some you'll never forget, and some you'll be so grateful for. So definitely the biggest adjustment that people didn't tell me about is all of the decisions I had to make on a daily basis.
What are some of the things that you've accomplished so far as head coach?
Oh gosh, I mean, the student athletes are the ones that are doing all of the work, honestly. We've been trying to hit certain benchmarks, of course, academically and athletically, but they're the ones that are doing all the work. I can mandate study hall, but they could just sit there and do nothing, but they haven't been doing that. I mean, I would think the number one thing that sticks out in my head, and again, this is all them, this is not me. We had 3 NFCA all academic players my first year, and we just had 11 this past year. So going from 3 to 11 just kind of goes to show what they've been doing in the classroom to try to increase their individual and their team GPA. And we went from having 1 scholar of distinction to having 3. So again, this is all them. Of course, my name is on the door, and my name is on the website, but they're the ones that are doing all the work. And they're the ones that have accomplished these things. We had our first all-region player in 2019 for the first time since 2000. She was the one that put the work in. She was the one that did, all the stuff behind the scenes and worked incredibly hard when no one was looking, and took my feedback, and I was really hard on her, but she's the one that decided to take that feedback and apply it and get better. And she set a goal for herself to, hit a certain number of goals in a year, and she did, and that got her the recognition. So while I'm helping them and setting them up in terms of making those decisions that we were just talking about giving her playing time and this and that, but she's the one that earned it. She made it really hard to not play her. And most recently we had, a player, that was Teresita Ambrosi Torres, who was the first all region player since 2000. But we just had a senior last year get selected for the Susan Lochdenagy Award, which here at Randolph Macon, that's for the most outstanding senior athlete. We had a field hockey player, Claire McGill, win that last year for a combination of things. And that was pretty incredible. Again, just knowing her and being with her for all 4 years. But all I did was fill out the nomination form. She was the one that worked incredibly hard and did the things that she had to do. So it's a hard question for me to answer, because I don't know that I've technically accomplished anything. They're the ones that have been doing what they've been doing, and they're the ones that, deserve the recognition for sure.
What are some similarities and differences between obviously playing and coaching in field hockey versus lacrosse?
Oh gosh, well, if you ask most people, they may say that they're exactly the same, or they don't know them apart. But yeah, I mean, it is really completely different. Lacrosse, has boundaries, and a certain number of people can only be over the line at a time. Like, defense is completely separate from the attack. Obviously, midfield is going both ways, but way more set plays, way more drawn up stuff in lacrosse, from the clear to the ride to your set pieces. Are you playing zone defense or man-to-man defense and all that kind of stuff? So way more set plays in lacrosse. In field hockey, a lot more like off-ball movement, a lot more shaping. Of course, there's still shapes in lacrosse and stuff, but I would honestly probably compare lacrosse to basketball a little bit more with your set plays, and compare field hockey a little bit more to soccer with your little bit more of a flow, as opposed to set pieces and, stopping and moving. So while they are similar in terms of a lot of people play both, they are completely different. Of course, in field hockey, we have set plays with our corner plays, but yeah, I mean, they are, as much as people think they're similar, they're really not. So as I mentioned before about being able to play both, it really just kind of gave me a lot of different opportunities to think critically about some different stuff and different shaping and set plays and all that kind of stuff. So having the opportunity to think about things in a different way, because they're really very, very, very different, to say the least.
What has it been like, obviously balancing being a college coach, but also coaching USA field hockey?
Yeah, so a lot of college coaches actually coach for USA field hockey. So it'll be usually like a springtime initiative and summer initiative. So a lot of coaches from Division 1, 2, and 3 all coach for USA field hockey. So that's really like our Olympic development pipeline. So there's a lot of youth development. There's stuff in between. So, there's a lot of different level coaches that are, assistant coaches for U19 development teams or U21 development teams. So really, the USA Field Hockey breaks the country down into regions, and those of us that are in regions just, try our best to help out the local younger players and get as involved as we possibly can. So it's, an opportunity to help develop younger players. It's an opportunity to see local players in action. It's an opportunity to see, when the national events come around, some different players that you haven't worked with before. So while I had a lot more energy and time to do it when I was younger, it's incredibly, beneficial, and a lot of college coaches do it. So not terribly difficult to balance both, but there sometimes is conflict with, our upcoming clinics, and we have a scrimmage against another Division 3 team that kind of conflicts with some weekends where they're hosting USA field hockey events. So that's really the one thing that makes it the most difficult, is trying to balance your spring schedule with the dates that they've selected.
What was it like taking the Randolph Mason program to back-to-back NCAA appearances in 2013, 14, and 17 and 18?
Yeah, I mean, that's the standard that we want to be at. Obviously we would prefer if we were competing for the championship on a yearly basis, but the goal has been to, when I first got here, it just missed the playoffs the year before. In my first year, we fell short as well. So the goal and the focus was to get back into the tournament, because we want to win a conference championship, and you can't do that if you're not playing in November. So being able to host that quarterfinal match for the first time in a while, obviously that was a goal, and we fell short of that, lost at home, so that was devastating. But the goal is to be in the conference tournament and competing for a championship every single year, and we haven't gotten past that quarterfinal match since I've been here, and we have some things to change and fix in order to do that. I have some things I need to change and fix in order to do that, and that'll be our focus, and trying to consistently make that something that we're doing, like I said, on a yearly basis.
What are some things that you've built for the program to make it into a contender?
So honestly, one of the biggest things I would say is, I mean, they were contenders for a long time, prior to my arrival, and it was my goal to get it back to what that was. It's a very short and brief hiatus from it, but the previous coach and our alumni have done a phenomenal job of getting the program to where it was. So my goal was just to get it back to the minimum of what they would have expected for it. So again, we've fallen a little bit short of that by not advancing past the quarterfinal match. But we have a character development program here where we really prioritize a lot of the different things that I think make a successful human being in life. So we've got a foundation here. We have a leadership group that's based on that foundation, and I think that the intangibles and the things that we've implemented that focus on the person have really allowed us to find some pretty special individuals. And to me, while the on-field success might be a little bit slower than we would have liked, and it's not moving as quickly as I anticipated, we have really great people here. And to me, that's the number one thing. I tell people all the time, and I'm not shy about this, I'd rather lose a few extra games with the right people than win with a bunch of jerks. And that's not, that might delay our success a little bit, and that might not get us to where we want to be, but I can lay my head down on the pillow at night knowing that we have really great people here, and that, they've got a great reputation on campus, and they do a great job of representing the program in a light that I'm proud of. And to me, that is something that I think has attracted some people here that, maybe wouldn't have looked here otherwise. And we're going to keep doing that and hope that that turns us into not just a contender in the tournament itself, but for the championship. So that's, again, what we're working towards and what we're hoping is on the horizon for us.
Who are some teams that you face in your conference, and what does a typical game day look like?
Yeah, so our conference is fairly challenging. We had multiple regionally ranked teams from our conference this year, and nationally ranked teams. So, between playing Washington and Lee and Shenandoah and Lynchburg, they've been all regionally ranked and, nationally ranked recently. And, again, everyone in our conference is tough. Everyone we play from, start to finish is a challenge. Those that have been at the top, people are trying to take them down. Those that are in the middle, everyone's trying to take them down. So everyone's trying to get after everybody in the same manner. And, we go after a game against, everyone the same. And that's how I try to approach it. When people say, like, who's your biggest rival? I just say, like, I want our players to, to treat everyone the same and not to, quote unquote, hate everyone the same. But, I want them to go out there and not care who we're playing and just get out there and do our thing, and not treat one game more important than the other, and just go out there and do your best. And again, it's sometimes hard to do that, because there's teams you haven't beaten or teams that are always trying to beat you, or, whatever the case may be, that sometimes do feel like there's a little bit more emotional stock in them. But, I try to do my best of approaching everything equally and the same. And we scout everyone and break down film of everyone the same. A typical game day, honestly, for us, it's when the least the least work is happening, because we've already done all the prep. Right now, the way that our building is set up, our office is right next door to the locker room. So, a lot of the players are coming in and out all day long, and they're really excited. And, the music's going in the locker room all day. Yeah. And it's just, again, the environment on game day is special, and it's great. And it's something that, this is what you've worked so hard for, the months building up to it and the off season. Like, that's the great part about it, is like having the chance to compete. So it's a fun atmosphere. We've got a couch in the office and a bunch of chairs. It's, plenty of space to come in and hang out. So usually a lot of them are after treatment coming in and just, talking about the game or talking about how great their day was or what they're looking forward to. So, it's a pretty loose environment. Again, they're super excited, and we recently just got a new field. So, it was exciting trying to think about the new walk over to the field and all of that. So, yeah, I mean, we just, again, I like to have a good time. We obviously have work to do, and it's a serious environment at times, but I want them to enjoy themselves. I think it's possible to have high expectations and standards, but, be happy doing what you're doing. And that's kind of the environment we try to create. Again, I said before, passionate is one of the words that I would use to describe me. So, the pre-locker room talk is usually pretty passionate about what we're excited about and this and that. But yeah, game day is one of the easiest days, and it's also one of the hardest days because we're playing at night in the middle of the week. So you got to wait around all day. The players have class, but we're usually sitting here until, wait until 5:30 until everyone's like finally coming around 5 o'clock. So it kind of seems counterintuitive that the whole work day has passed before we actually get to do the work. So, but yeah, it's a fun time being near the locker room with the players coming in and out. And that's one of the things I love the most, is being able to interact with them and have that time.
What does the recruitment process look like for those prospective student athletes looking to play college field hockey?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, nowadays there's so many opportunities for student athletes to be recognized at on-campus clinics and, showcases and recruiting events. I mean, there are endless, like I said, opportunities to kind of be seen. But yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing for the recruitment process is to just research schools that are going to fit your needs and desires first. If you learn great in a small environment, don't be looking at a school that has, 40,000 people just because it's a place that you think would be cool to play field hockey at. The school is the most important thing. You've got to be happy doing that, or else it's going to be pretty hard to succeed, because field hockey is such a small piece of the experience. I mean, we're talking about the middle of August until the middle of November. And sure, while there's spring season and all of that, I mean, that's only 3.5 months out of the year, 3 months out of the year. So what you're happy doing outside of those 3 to 4 hours a day, it needs to be something that aligns with what you want. So I would just say, researching schools that fit things that are in your wheelhouse, an environment where you succeed the most, doing research before you reach out to a coach, saying, can you tell me about your school? I mean, there's so much information online now. We should be researching before reaching out to coaches and expressing our interest in that. So just making sure, again, it's a school that could potentially fit you. If they have a recruitment form, filling that out. But yeah, just constant communication, not expecting that people are going to see you, but doing some research, finding some things that could be a fit, and just reaching out to people. It's new for some people, and something that's been happening since eighth grade for some people. So everyone's timeline is different, and we don't hold that against anybody. It's everyone's experience and exposure is different. Some people play club, some people don't. Some people play club and not high school. So just being able to figure out, trying to find the right people that are the right fit, but that potential student athletes doing the work ahead of time of finding a school that's potentially going to be a fit, and doing some back research. If you want to be a nurse and a school doesn't have nursing, it's going to be pretty hard to succeed there, or they don't have any type of program that can set you up for a nursing school. So just a small example, but something that's incredibly important in the long run.
As a head coach, what are some things that you look at when on the road?
In terms of recruiting, I mean, definitely their demeanor is number one. How they react to calls that don't go their way, how they react to teammates that don't receive a pass that they sent. How they react when they get scored on, do they lift their goalkeeper up and all that stuff. Again, like I mentioned before, we're all about the person first. So how people react is definitely number one. When they come off the field, what's their reaction when their coach gives them feedback? What are they like when they're not in the game? But then obviously, we're looking at the same things that everybody else is looking at. Are you getting after it? Are you gritty? Are you fast? Are you athletic? Like there's so many, things that field hockey wise that we're all looking for, right? Like it's pretty easy to spot when you go to a field who a great field hockey player is, but are they a great teammate? Are they a great person? Are they going to be a great fit for what we're trying to build here? So again, definitely the intangibles first, and how they're acting, and not necessarily are they 100% embodying what we stand for, but are they attempting to? Are they attempting to do things that might be a little bit more difficult? Are they being unselfish, but then also selfish when need be? So it's everyone's obviously looking for the same thing of players that are going to make them better, right? But really how people are acting, and what they're doing as a teammate will be, generally speaking, a deciding factor for us.
Of course, when these prospective student athletes come on the official visit, what is the process like for Randolph Mason on official visit?
So coming on an official visit, it's interesting. There's been like an influx of recently student athletes like requesting to come on an official visit, when generally speaking, it's something that, a coaching staff will decide to extend an invite to an official visit. But every division looks a little bit different. For Division 3, we can have official visits starting after January 1 of the junior year of a prospective student athlete. That's not the case for everyone. So, we're not just throwing those out to anybody. Again, an official visit is usually a strong indication of being highly interested in someone. So, we're making sure that we're doing all the work ahead of time and trying to figure out all those things I was just talking about that what we're looking for, or, have they been to campus? Have they been to a clinic? If we don't really know them, we're probably not going to extend an official visit invite. There is a getting to know someone process before we get to that point. That doesn't mean we know everything about them, but the team has to obviously figure some things out as well. So them getting to spend time with the team, and coming on that official visit is obviously, really important, but they're just seeing a little bit more in depth on what it looks like to be a student athlete here, and, what the day in the life of a student at Randolph Macon looks like. And it is a really great look into that, but it's definitely not something that we are overextending on. We're pretty selective with how many official visit invites we give out. Obviously some years more than others, but it is, again, the process differs everywhere. And everyone's official visit plans and experience and, agenda looks totally different. But yeah, you got to get to know a student athlete, and student athlete needs to get to know the school and the coach a little bit before that becomes, something that we move towards.
What advice would you give those prospective student athletes looking to play college field hockey?
I think really just to kind of go off what I mentioned before is like doing your research, making sure that it's always good to cast your net wide, but don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to follow up with someone. It's a difficult process, but things in recruiting evolve all the time. You could lose 6 of your top 10 in a week span once the Division 1 call period opens up, and you could lose everyone that you thought were you were going to have. So, things evolve and change all the time. But I think the number one thing, like I said, is to do your research, find the school that's fit for you over anything. And yeah, just again, put yourself out there, visit as much as you can. And again, just really try to find the place that's the right fit for you. I mean, there's 163, I think, Division III programs, 36 Division II, and probably like close to 80 Division I programs. So there are hundreds of options, and some are going to fit your needs and some aren't. Just like some student athletes fit our needs and some don't. So yeah, I mean, I think just being as transparent as possible and doing your work and making sure you find a fit for you, and not a name, not what other people think you should be doing, but trying to truly find a place that's the right fit for you.
What advice would you give those college athletes looking to go from playing college to going into the professional, representing on the U.S. field hockey level?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, since we're the only, the US is the only one with a collegiate system. When you compare field hockey to the rest of the world, we have a very different model. So sometimes the events, with higher level field hockey players, conflict with their college seasons and things like that. But I would also say that, the prep to get to the professional level, is obviously not easy. I wouldn't know. I'm not nearly talented enough, to have that opportunity, but some of my good friends have. But their work ethic is unlike anything I've ever seen. So it didn't matter how talented they were, but their work ethic was truly what set them apart, and they're doing things that not everyone else is willing to do. And I think sometimes when players are younger and they kind of stand out from the rest, which again, I'm not one to talk, I've never been there, but sometimes when we are the best of the best, we can have a tendency to get complacent. But just like we tell the fastest person on our roster, like, just because you continue to beat everyone doesn't mean that you're actually getting better or faster. Are you trying to push yourself more so than what you've already done? And just continuing to beat everyone doesn't mean that you're working your hardest. So you've got to find new ways to measure that. So yeah, I mean, I think, again, I have zero experience in anything related to the US team or anything like that. But again, the people that I know who have been successful in that system, and the people that I've talked to, skill is obviously incredibly important, and you can't be playing at that level if you're not talented. But the things that they were willing to do and their ability to push their body and their mind to new limits are something that I think is pretty rare, and that sets them apart from everybody else.
What advice would you give future college coaches looking to get started in coaching in college field hockey, whether they want to become head coaches or not?
That's a great question. There are way more opportunities out there than I think people realize. And I think at first, like, if I look back to what I talked about my first job, that I wasn't quite sure if I could do it, but the only way is if you try. And as an organization like the NFHCA, our coaches organization, we're always talking about how we can get more young people involved and how we can get more young women to get into college coaching. And ironically enough, today is International Women's Day, and I think we as coaches need to continue modeling what a good lifestyle looks like, what a healthy lifestyle looks like as a coach. Although there are external factors that sometimes tend to impact that, and what the media and what external people want doesn't always match what is the best for us as individuals and human beings. But yeah, I mean, I would say, like, while it's not the most lucrative profession in the world, it's incredibly rewarding, and it's taught me so many different things and has allowed me to experience some major life events. Shouldn't say some, a lot of major life events for a lot of young women who are now grown with 3 children, and I've been to their weddings and their baby showers and all of these different things, and been able to support them also in times that aren't so great. And yeah, to just consider it in the sense that it's so impactful. It's really a unique opportunity. Sometimes when I sit back and think about it, I almost laugh, because it's just such an obscure job, but the opportunity to impact so many people and to learn from so many different people, whether it's short term or long term, is definitely something that I think people should consider, not even just at the college level, but, if you have a job that's from 7 to 2 or from, 8 to 4, does your local middle school or high school team, need somebody to help out a few days a week or something like that. So, there's a lot of opportunities and different things that people can get into, but, yeah, I mean, it's not an easy job. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's, I just get to roll up and coach field hockey. There are so many other things that fall under our umbrella, and some days are more challenging than others, but no day is the same. That's for sure. And yeah, while, it's unique, I do think it's something that's helped shape my life and that of others as well.
Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the Randolph Mascon program?
So all of our programs, social media handles are at RMCFH. Our Twitter and our Instagram are the same, as is our Facebook. So if you just, even if you just go on Facebook and type in Randolph Macon Field Hockey. And then my personal Twitter is Coach Dubbs, DUBBS, RMC. So that is my Twitter. I have a public one that I use, for coaching stuff and for personal stuff, but that's really the main platform that I use. So yeah, at Coach Dubbs RMC is what that handle is. But our program, which is probably way more interesting than my personal handle, is at RMCFH.
Thank you again, Coach Jessica, for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Randolph Mascon program.
Thank you so much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again for your interview, and best of luck in your future with the Randolph Mascon program.
Thank you.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.